Hey, everybody. Gail Craft here from the Empowering Process podcast. Thank you for joining me. I have in the studio with me, really on Zoom, Portia Booker. Portia has so much to share with us. She is someone who has definitely transformed her life, and I'm hoping that we're able to dig into her comment that the greatest pain can become someone else's blueprint. The greatest pain can become someone else's blueprint. Wow, that is a mouthful. Portia, welcome.
Gail, lots of gratitude to you for having me on the show today. Of course, shout out to Diamond Beauties, the community, because I know we are both a part of that group. And, there's a lot of wonderful people in there. And of course, you are one of them. So thank you so much for having me today. I'm honored.
Oh, yes, I have made so many ladies reach out to us. We will hook you up with a magical, amazing community where women truly support women in any way possible. And it is a beautiful place. And that's where I met Portia in a Mrs. Potts
Yep.
meeting.
Too bad, Gail, you couldn't come to my Mrs. Potts when I had mine.
I
Mine was
know.
on Saturdays, and I called it the Fun House, named after the song by Pink, Welcome to the Fun House. And sometimes I would come in dressed up as Wonder Woman. I have my notorious minion costume that sits next to me often. So that's literally what it was. Come on Saturday, have fun. Cause right, the weekends are reserved for nothing but fun, right? Put the work away, go out. Look, if you want to run and dance in your underwear or, whatever you want to do, just let that part of you be in the forefront. Because I think as entrepreneurs, we bury it, right? We bury it when we experience grief, when we experience loss, when we experience transitions. And to your point about the greatest pain being that blueprint for transformation, that was my story and it still is. I never would have thought, Gail, that it's been 3 years since my mom made her transition. So I use the word transition instead of death because to me, it really is a transition, right? We've transitioned as far as our level of communication. The love energy that my mom has for me and I have for her is still here. It's just in a different form. And it's also different in the way that we communicate now. And so when my mom made her physical transition, I remember picking up her ashes from the funeral home. And this epiphany came in the window. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that TikTok video where the guy he's driving the Honda Civic and the owl literally flies in the window and lands on his lap. And the caption says, when your spirit guides need your attention, they have to get it directly. And that's literally what happened to me at the traffic light. This epiphany comes in the window and it says, Portia, what if your mom's transition is for your transformation? And I literally had to sit with that, Gail. Like, what does this even mean? My mom's been gone 3 weeks, and you're telling me your mom's transition is for your transformation. But Gail, I slowly started to see it because the next day after my mom made her transition, she passed away on a Thursday. So 7/7/22 is when my mom made her transition. I remember standing on the front porch and I said, God, I know this grief journey is going to be heavy, but I want to do it different because we're so accustomed to going on our grief journeys based on the societal narrative of, oh, you're going to be in doom, gloom, resentment, isolation. You're going to feel all the feels of all the stages of grief, right? But really, grief is not like that. And my book that I wrote 3 months after my mom died, Finding Grace Within Grief, Her Transition, My Transformation, I literally posed the question, what if grief is not what we think, Gail? What if grief is simply one door closing and another one opening and giving you the opportunity to pivot that love energy that you're putting into a job, right? We were talking a little bit
Yeah,
about,
yeah.
working in the corporate space, the energy you're putting into a job, that relationship that you knew you should have left 10 years ago, right? Someone who made an impact on your life that is physically transitioned, your mom, the pets, brothers, siblings, right? What if that love energy is geared to be redirected back to you in order for you to transform? Because my mom was sick for a long time, Gail, and I was her full time caregiver. And what a lot of people don't realize, when you're a caregiver for somebody, it's exhausting, it's hard, it's
Yeah.
bittersweet, and
Yep.
that becomes your identity. So you're grieving not only that part of your identity, you're grieving the fact that you're an adult orphan and all the above. But at the same time, what was the beautiful part in that, Gail, was her transition gave me permission to start living life again. And that's my core message to other people who have experienced loss.
Can I just share? I have a couple of friends who have lost what I consider their twin flame, not soulmate, twin flame, right? Like when they saw each other across the room, the whole magic happened, right? And in every case, that soul came back to them to say, I had to die to help you transform. I'm helping you and guiding you from here, but I am still with you. And in one case, her husband showed her the 7 lives they lived before and brought her to her first original breath of life incantation, to her first home. So I have a book that I'm writing right now. So I'm all about dragons, guys,
Mm-hmm.
and it's called Dragon Tales, Tails, and the character has encounters with dragons and evolves more and more and more with each encounter. And one of the first chapters, I explain that scientifically, it's proven that we can't see everything. We only see 0.0035%
Mm.
of that's all we see. And we don't hear anything. We pick up vibrations and a small band, and our brain interprets what we think those vibrations mean. So we don't hear everything. So, what are we not seeing and what are we not hearing
Mm-hmm.
that is really there? Are the souls really still walking this earth? Well, yes and no. And we can get into, what are frequencies and, the different dimensions being actually different frequencies. And that's what we are, all frequencies at the same time. And so
Mm-hmm.
we are tapped in. That's a whole other conversation. But the beauty of it all is, you're right, it's just a transition into a different frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And for that soul to, to condense their energy so they can communicate with you also requires you to lift yours up
Right.
to
You
meet
have
them
to
part
change.
way, right?
Yeah.
Right. So they're pulling you. They're like, come, come, you can do it. You can do it. And one of my friends, she's become a medium.
Mm.
She was corporate data driven. She is an IT person. And she's like, I'm like, I'm seeing aliens, I'm talking to spirits. She's like, if you told me 2 years ago this would be happening, I would say you're crazy. Right?
Yeah.
Right. And so this is a huge gift that they're giving in their transformation on our behalf.
But a lot of people, it's Gail, for them, it's a death sentence because they want things the way that they always were, right? And when you brought up about the twin flames, I thought of a song immediately. There's a band called Escape the Fate, and there's a song by them called Picture Perfect. And the song is about, I believe, the lead singer, one of his true loves passed away young. And, part of the lyrics says, you had to die in order for me to see how to live. And I think a lot of people, when we experience that transition in our life of our person, right? Because I run grief groups and I have the parent loss group and the suicide loss groups, the two hardest ones. But one of the things that I always remind my participants is this was your person, right? That's the only thing you have to respond to people. When you're in the fields, when you are missing them, when you're angry, you're upset, that's your person. right? And that love energy, that bond that you had with them, that you still do, has changed. And it's going to take you a little bit of time to get acclimated to this new life without them physically, right? And I tell them you have to give yourself permission to reach a level of acceptance that makes sense for you.
Yes.
Because everybody wants to tell you, oh, you have to accept, especially when it comes to suicide loss, you have to accept that this was their choice. Yes, at the same time, they're not there yet, right? So
Yeah.
we need to give people the grace and permission to grieve in their own unique way,
You
right?
know, one of my friends that I was telling you about, his twin flame, suddenly, I mean, they were on vacation in England. He goes to work out and he comes back to her dead, right?
Mm,
Ugh. And so that's sudden. And a mutual friend of his and mine had said to me, he's got to get over her. And I mind my own business, but my thought was, none of your business what he's going through because you don't know.
right.
You don't know the connection they have had. You don't know the connection they're building because she was sending him messages and he knew and he
Mm-hmm.
knows that he's getting messages from her, right? And he's like trying to tap in, right? Does this mean he'll never be with someone else again? No. But what it does
Right.
mean is that he and her will will do this again.
Mm-hmm.
Will do this who knows how many times again. But in this incantation of his life, he needs to change. And he will say, okay, I'm going to say my Tina. He used to introduce her as my Tina. I used to call her my Tina, not Tina, my Tina,
Aw.
right? And his Tina will always be with him. And he
Mm-hmm.
does everything now is, does this honor my Tina?
Mm-hmm.
Does this honor her?
You know, Gail, I always say to people that we are a collection of imprints of all the people who we've encountered in our life. And so with our person, whether we've been with them a year or 20 years, we have lots of imprints of them that have touched our hearts that we take with us everywhere. You know, for me, my mom comes to see me quite often. Like she came to see me in a dream about 3 weeks ago. And I made a Facebook post about it. And I said, this was the first time my mother didn't say anything. Normally, we're sitting in the kitchen. Me and her, we used to have coffee. That was our thing. We would have our cup of coffee. I'd make my mom either an omelet for breakfast, or if she wanted to spoil me, she would make me my favorite breakfast sandwich, which is a bacon, egg, cheese with strawberry jam sandwich in the morning with a cup of coffee. And I drink my
Mm,
coffee dark, y'all, black like my soul and my sense of humor. So that's how I love my coffee. And when she appeared in the dream, she looked the same like she normally does. But I took it as she was letting me know that she's always there, right? Not all the time they have to say anything for you to get the message. Now, my mom has delivered some profound things to me over the years since she made her transition. I remember the same year she transitioned, she came to me in my meditation. Normally, when I do my meditations, I go to a mountain in Thailand and I have water from the waterfall rushing over my head because I feel like water cleanses your spirit and stuff. And I looked over my meditation. I said, Mommy? It's like, hi, darling. I said, you good? She's like, yep, go back to your meditation. I'm sitting here with you. And I was shocked that she was there, but it was the beauty of her coming to me in that moment again to let me know she's always with me. Right. And I think when it comes to grief, loss, there's a societal discrepancy, Gil. And what I mean by a societal discrepancy is you have the side of the corporate that's like, once your person's gone, you have to handle all of this stuff. You know, even our places of worship kind of do the same thing. But when you experience that transition and you open yourself up to a new form of communication. It's like nobody can really tell you anything because whether it's the hawks, the feathers, for me, believe it or not, Gail, it's lottery tickets. Here's one here. I find them often. I find lottery tickets often with specific numbers, whether it's 1111, 1212, 111. But you know what that means for you. And I really want to encourage people today, be open to that level of communication from your loved one and even ask them because they'll know. They know how to communicate with you. They also know if you're afraid, right? But they don't want you to sit there and essentially build your own coffin because they're no longer physically here.
What's interesting is I've experienced connection with people that I never knew in my lifetime, and I'll explain
Mm,
this to you. So my first husband, and I think karmically I will be with him again. Um, we were at his mother's house. His father had died when he was 12. So no, I didn't know his
mm,
dad. He was an alcoholic. So he died of sclerosis of the liver.
mm,
And we were at his mother's house and for the night. And I got up in the middle of the night and his father first was sitting on the bed and then was in my way. And I literally said, "Oh, I'm going to the bathroom. You really do need to get out of my way." Right? So he did. He moved, right? You really do need, right? When my husband and I divorced, I went to a card reader psychic. And before she did anything, she said, "I see a cold bed." And I said, "Yes." She goes, "So you're divorced?" I said, "Yes." She said, "There's a man here with you." Now, no men in my lifetime had transitioned yet, right? I went, "Really? Who?" And she said, "Well, he's got the hole in his stomach." And I, "Well, what's he doing here?" Right?
right.
Right. Well, as it turns out, so here we are, I mean, decades later. Um, his older brother, wife, and I reconnected when I moved to San Diego. And I
Mm,
spent 15 years going to their Thanksgiving dinner, going to his daughter's wedding, seeing my nephews and nieces from that marriage. And I am still, even though he and his wife have transitioned, still am connected to that family. So that family has a connection with me. That's why I say I know I'm going to see them again. That's okay. Just
right.
let's make it better next time, right? And there was a lesson that I got from that experience. So another thing that I believe, Portia, and everything's a story. So this is my belief. The story I made up for me is that I created this game we call life. I wrote the script and I play the parts that I chose to play, and the supporting characters are those that I have chosen for the purpose of me doing two things. By experiencing conflict, I am creating an energy that can expand the universe. I am creating a different kind of energy. And that conflict allows me to rediscover who I am. So it's a game that I created of rediscovering. It is joy.
Mm-hmm.
It is a game. Don't take it so goddamn seriously.
Okay.
Loosen up.
Okay.
Right? Right?
I I think so many people, you're right. Like when you experience multiple transitions in a short period of time, it feels like you getting beat up in an MMA fight. But we're not conditioned, Gail, to take a step back and ask ourselves, what is this trying to teach me? Right? We're
Yes.
a lot of us are so conditioned into why me, right? The
Oh,
the
victim,
victim.
victim,
Mm-hmm.
victim.
Right. And so when you experience that level of awakening, right? Like everybody wants to call it mindset shifts, all this stuff. But a lot of people aren't there yet.
They're not there yet. That's okay.
And that's all. You're right. You're right. It's okay. At the same time, like it's that level of acceptance
Mhm.
too, that this is what's happening. This is how what I can control, right? And I'm choosing, right? A lot of people forget, Gail, about choice, the
Oh,
power of
free
choice.
will. Free will.
You can choose to stay, in that boat of I'm just going to let everything happen to me, or you're going to choose to say, you know what? How can I see this differently? Right? What is the lesson that I need to learn here?
What's the growth opportunity? Why did I write this into my script?
Right.
What am I trying to waken up to?
Mm-hmm.
I put this here for a reason. The spiritualist that I work with a lot, Franco, I love you, Franco Romero. Um, he says, written by me, for me,
Mm-hmm.
written by me, for me,
Mm-hmm.
so that I can play the game. I have many clients who are really in the dark night of the soul, and
Mm.
and that's my thing is working with folks on that. And when we're done, I say you are a game master because only a master would have written a story and a game this complex and this
Right.
deep to overcome. Congratulations on getting to the next level of mastery,
Right. Ooh,
right?
that dark night of the soul. That is definitely, it reminds me, I dated a Marine one time, and they have this thing at the very end of their training called the Crucible that
Hmm.
they have to get through. It reminds me of the Crucible a little bit, where you have to go through so many obstacles. I mean, it's essentially
It,
survival of the fittest.
yeah.
I think so many of us are in that dark night of the soul for long periods of time because we're not open to the number of choices that we have and how we can be the script writer of this script. Right.
Yes. And the pain of that experience occurs because we resist that
Oh,
experience.
and pain ain't the enemy. That's the other thing too.
No,
Pain is not the enemy. We on the
it's
same
the
page.
teacher. It's the teacher.
Right.
It's the wake up call.
It reminds me when I was in J school, we had a professor who J school, for those of you who don't know, is journalism school. We had a professor that a lot of people were not a fan of. And I think this particular professor was an investigative reporter at one point in their career. So their teaching style was very different.
Yeah.
Like if any of you have ever interacted with investigative reporters, they're very to the point. Tell me the facts, tell me this, tell me that. They don't have time for wiggle room. So a lot of people were not a fan of this particular professor. And over the last couple of years, Gail, I found that this particular professor's sayings and teachings have become part of my everyday in how I run my business, how I handle difficult situations. Because I remember this particular professor said, day one, education without application is useless.
Yeah.
And when I think about that and I think about the way of the world today, I'm like, you know what? This professor was right in so many different aspects. Like they were training us to not be punching bags in the field, whether we went into a newsroom or PR, whatever denomination you went into from college. But this professor was really giving you the tools through the avenue of tough love, but a lot of people didn't see it. And of course, I didn't see it then, but I see it now. And I'm very grateful. Me and this professor, we are Facebook friends. We are. And they've commented on a few things of my career expansion and running my business now. So shout out to you, you know who you are. I'm not going to name drop you, but you know who you are. But that was the thing. Back then, it was painful, right? I'm thinking, what in the world? And I'm about to graduate and you trying to hold me back from reaching the trophy. But really, you're testing me to see if I'm really worthy of that trophy in the end.
You know, I love that phrase, education without application, because I will tell you my entire life, even in corporate, your degrees don't impress me much.
I'm thinking of that song. It don't
Don't
impress
impress me
me.
much. Nope, nope, nope. And exactly. Um, but if you've gone through the fire, that impresses me tremendously, right? Um, I have so many certifications and so many degrees, and I don't give a crap. I don't put them out there because I don't want to impress you. I want to be there for you.
Yeah.
My
And I
job is not to impress you.
and I think that's another construct, right, Gail, that we've put as the forefront of the golden poster child,
Yeah.
right? We give certain professions a pass because of however many years of schooling, but yet you have people who've never been to college. Some of them have maybe never even finished high school. They went to night school, but yet they have more empathy, more knowledge, and also more compassion for people to serve and to help them.
And my story of non-education. So I come from the gang of Boston, streets of Boston. I was I had trash mouth, pretty rough around the edges, very rough around the edges. And I was working in this company, and the president called and said, "I'm firing your boss. We're in trouble, and I'm offering you his position because I've been watching you. I think you can get us out of this." A street kid, I'm thinking, this is an excellent opportunity. If someone is at the bottom, there's only one way. I felt I couldn't fail. There's only one way but up. I didn't think, Portia, that I could put them out of business. Never occurred to me, right? I thought, whoa, this is golden, right? And I did. I mean, well, within 6 months of me having that position, it was our year end, and we had to buy computer software equipment because we were making too much money. We
Mm,
didn't want to close the books with too much, right? And the things that I did, I I had no education telling me go into the bank and tell them I want part of the float that you're doing every night with our money. I want this much money left in the account all the time, and I want you to float this much, right? I had no idea. Where did that come from? Certainly not from the streets, right? Certainly not from the gang, right? I have no idea. I just went with the flow,
mm-hmm,
right? I changed processes. I put in protection. When left that company, I think it was like 6 years later, I was talking to someone. She goes, "You're the Gail Craft?" I said, "Okay, yes." She goes, "We still follow your policies and procedures, right?" The
mm.
point being is I had no degree. I didn't have a college degree. I had nothing. I had a high school diploma. That's it.
But you had that divine wisdom, though.
I was tapped in. I was tapped in because I believed, right? I believed that, hey, that I have no choice but to succeed. This is going to be fun. And it
Mm-hmm.
was fun. It was fun, right? So go play, go have fun, believe in yourself, and tap into when you get messages. When I'm coaching with someone, I have to record it, Portia, because I have no idea what's going to come out of my mouth. I have no clue.
No, Gail, I'm the same way. Like I've had the honor of working with two aspiring authors. And both of these individuals, I sat with them over Zoom to help them to really outline their books that they're going to put out into the world, which I'm really excited for both of them. And for me, I didn't realize, Gail, how much energy that I'm emitting when I am listening to their stories. Then afterwards, I'm creating their outlines for them and all the other things. And it's all organic. I mean, I record them too, but I'm also taking notes. And it's like I can see literally. I mean, talk about the divine gift. I can see their entire story before me as they're telling it to me. I can hear the sounds, whether it was a door closing behind them when they were leaving from their job for the last time, or if they were admitted in the hospital for 6 weeks and finally going outside into the courtyard when it was the first day of spring, right? Smelling the earth outside, the fresh cherry blossoms, whatever it might be, I can see it. And so sometimes literally I have to like go ghost for like 2 days to just rejuvenate because of how much energy I've emitted.
Yes, rejuvenating. It's really interesting because that came up today for me
Mm,
was my need for solo time. I
mm-hmm,
I'm on the road. I have no home right now, purposely designed. And I love driving through the desert, just
mm.
just me and my tunes, or no tunes because I might lose, GPS. I
Signal.
might, right? It doesn't matter. I don't even notice when that happens. Every once in a while, I go, oh yeah, I don't know how long I haven't heard you. Okay, right? Being with me and
Mm-hmm.
and the universe. That's my time of huge growth, huge connection, huge transformation because I allow it in.
Mm-hmm.
It's just me. And that's
Oh,
all that matters. For you, Portia, it's just you.
mm-hmm.
That's all that matters. It's so
Yeah.
beautiful. So beautiful.
Yeah. Earlier today, before we jumped on here, I went outside and did the yard. I said, let me take advantage of the decent weather that we're having before that horrible S word comes through. So I went out and did the yard.
Sunshine, right? Sunshine.
Right. The we'll put it sunshine, more sunshine, not the other one that's wet and can cause other types of things, catastrophes. But, it was nice, Gail, to connect to nature. I'm definitely a music person. I mean, I've mentioned several songs throughout our conversation today, but I have my beat headphones on. I have several different playlists, and I just let my mind wander as I'm doing the yard. I'm raking the leaves, getting them all bagged up in that, or getting them to the tree lawn because sometimes the city will come and pick them up for us, which is very sweet. But a lot of times, too, Gail, when I'm in my own company, that's when I get the most downloads too.
Yes.
I mean, I get them left and right. It's almost like as I'm seeing the leaves falling down, the leaves are like falling on my head and giving me ideas and, all the things. And it's like, let me write this down really quick. And so just that disconnection, like earlier this summer, me and my special person, so yes, I am taken. I've brought this up a couple of times. We went on a road trip to the Finger Lakes in New York.
Mm.
And let me tell you something, Gail. Whenever I go on vacation, or at least when I used to, I would obviously take my computer just in case if clients had questions, emails. I didn't take any work for the first time in probably, I don't know, a couple years. Didn't take any work. Don't think I had was my phones. And I was completely disconnected from everybody and everything. The only time I checked my phone is if we were looking for obviously directions or if we were going to find something to eat. But it felt foreign the first day or so to be disconnected from everybody on social media, email, text, and all the above. And I said, you know what? This should be the opposite, where I feel more relaxed, calm, present in the moment, like little
Mm.
children.
Mm-hmm.
And so I told my guy, I said, we have to do this once a month if possible, because I said, there's nothing that can compare to disengaging from all the mainstream and just being present in the moment with who we are and what we're doing.
I used to take purposefully rides to nowhere. And
Yeah.
right? And I'll do that still without the GPS, just go because I'll put the GPS to get me home, or I'll hit a major road somewhere, sometime, and be able to
Hmm.
figure out how to get back home. And and I would bring a picnic lunch because I didn't know how long or where I was going to land. And it was such an adventure. And I used to do this with
Mm.
my children. I can remember one time pulling over to the side of the road, going into the bushes, right? And finding a space to put the blanket down, right, with the kids. And yes, it was buggy. We were getting mosquito bites or whatever. We had a blast. We had a blast.
Well, instead of y'all eating the mosquitoes are like smorgasbord.
I know, like fresh meat, fresh blood, right? And there was another place that I would go to. I found it's not there anymore. It's been, buildings now, but it was a blueberry patch.
Mm.
Huge. And it'd be like, kids, let's get some buckets, let's go. Right. And we'd fill up I had no idea what blueberries cost until and when that went away, when they stripped out the patches and put up buildings, I had to buy blueberries in the store. I was like, whoa, these are expensive.
Right.
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 Little did I appreciate at the time, what I got from Mother Nature. And that's the other thing. I would get them. There were lakes that I would go walking in the springtime, in the summer, in the wintertime, I'd go sledding with the kids. Blueberry patches everywhere
Mm.
at the lakes, right? It, a- Mother Nature provides.
Yes, Mother Nature does. I mean, I have the honor of being able to live on the lake. So it's
Mm,
only a 5 minute drive, 10-minute bike ride. And there's so many different national parks here that I can go to here in Ohio without having to pay anything, New York.
yeah.
Uh, but it's, just being able to walk in nature,
Yes.
to take in the soundscapes, to be in your own company, or if me and my guy, we go hiking sometimes too, but just taking in the clean air, not, all the, obviously now it's cooler weather. So people have their heat going. You can smell all types of stuff outside but just being present in that moment and letting your mind be and take in what's before you and not think about, oh, I have to do this tomorrow. I have to do this next week and all the above. Just presence.
Be in the moment. Quite a few months ago, I was having one of those in nature moments, and I had a huge epiphany,
Mm.
right? Not only listening to Gaia's consciousness, because she also thinks just like the trees do, and just like the dogs and the cats do.
Mm-hmm.
We all have a consciousness. So I was probably contemplating her consciousness. And then I went, holy shinola.
Holy
I
Snickers.
I created this too. That her consciousness is my consciousness. And your consciousness is like this whole universal one mind consciousness. I'm getting shivers remembering it in my thighs, even. That the reality of that was like, boom, a ton of bricks. Like, how magnificent of a being am I that I created her,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the moon, and the stars, and the sun, and the planets. Because I created this energetic vortex that allowed me to come into a third dimensional experience so I could play, right? How magnificent are we? We forget that in this experience. And the
Yeah.
journey, the quest is to discover it. Yeah.
Right. We're always on an adventure,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think sometimes we forget to incorporate that childlike curiosity, like when we were kids and we would be in the backyard or,
Yeah.
getting our toys and creating the scenario, whether it was so Gail, the way I grew up, I was not a fan of Barbie, not a fan, still not to this day. I had GI Joes like my cousins
I
and my
had
brothers.
horses and cowboys.
So, I would create little worlds for them or activities or different scenes for their day. And my cousins lived in this apartment where they had these like big pillar steps. And so I would take little ropes and make the GI Joes like rappel down to rescue somebody, or they're swinging through the treetops. And so I think we sometimes forget that 7 or 8 year old version of us is still here, right? Kind of like when you're talking about in the beginning of, this version of Gail is here, and just like this version of Gail is still here. There's no
We're
different.
we're all those archetypes. I love to say, and I got this from someone who I had trained with, all of the goddesses fully expressed,
Mm-hmm.
fully expressed. And
Yeah.
it's okay. It's okay for me to have the anger and the fire of Mars. And it's okay for me to have the sensuality and the grace of Venus. It's okay for me to express all of them
Mm-hmm.
when it's appropriate.
Oh, don't get me. That's a whole nother conversation for
Yeah.
another day about anger, especially as women,
Yes.
because I think even today, as quote unquote open we say that we are, it still is looked at as a crime if a woman is angry.
Yes. Yep. You're given oh, did you freeze? I hope
Nope,
not.
I
Oh,
didn't freeze.
okay.
Nope.
Okay. It's we're given the B label, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I had a contract I was working on. It was a huge contract. And I had an amazing person that I got to work with within that company. And the woman that brought me on, he asked her, why does so and so hate Gail so much? And she said, well, people either love her or hate her. There is no in between because she puts up with no BS
Mm-hmm.
and she calls it like it is. And
Yeah.
so I no longer try to I was a big people pleaser. If it in the past, if I had that experience with these particular individuals had that much anger towards me, I would be like, how do I make it right? How do I make it right? Now it's like, well, it's because I expose their bullshit. Right? It's because I'm like, well, what are you talking about? No, that's not what's going on here, right? Or question, hey, what, you know, I handled the budget. Wait a minute. Who drew money out of that bucket and why? Right? Because I have no backup for that, and I'm going to track you down.
Okay.
Right? I'm going to track you down. And, it's okay that there's an expense, but take it out of the right bucket. And if your bucket is out of money, let me know. We'll transfer money. We got the money. It's
Right.
just an accounting thing, right?
Right.
Right? It's just incredible. But again, it's the fear and the manipulation that people have. Well, don't go to Gail and tell her that we went over budget in this line item. I don't give a crap. Watching my language, right? I don't care. We want to document exactly what was spent where so that the next project does a better job of projecting,
Right.
so
Because I
that we
mean,
learn. Yeah,
right. What's the saying? What you don't measure, you can't manage.
right, right, right. So anyway, a big proponent for KPIs at the time. Now it's like it's all a story anyway. We can make anything fit if we want to. So yeah, yeah. And so it's really for me, I've learned because I lived so long out of alignment, how important it is to be in alignment. I know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
I know the difference. And so if you've lived your life being a people pleaser, you know, carrying that label of, be the B word, full of anger, frustration, or whatever, you know what that feels like.
Mm-hmm.
Come to the other side, guys, because if you know that, there's two sides to every coin. The universal law of polarity. If you know this, then you absolutely can know that as well.
Mm-hmm.
You can move there. You're on the right line, you're just on the wrong side of it.
Gail, I'll say this really quick. I had an interesting experience earlier in the month where someone who I know sent me a message about hearsay. They heard something from someone else. They wanted to confirm it from me
Good.
about me, right?
Good.
And I told them, I said, I'm not going to play the keyboard Olympus with you over text message. I said, let's handle this like adults.
Hmm.
So I called them and I said, it doesn't matter what I say to you right now because you already have your mind made up about what you believe.
Ooh, yeah.
I said, instead of you stewing on all the things that's crumpling around you, why don't you give yourself permission to make it right for you? Instead of focusing on all the negative and all the above, how can you turn this around?
Yeah.
And
You,
I
you, kn-
left them with that more empowering approach. Because, yeah, I feel like it's so easy to immediately go to what I like to call the St. Clair. So, those of you know, I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, and the rap group Bone Thugs and Harmony grew up around the corner from me. So, y'all are familiar with East 99. That's where I grew up. And it's easy to go there with people.
yeah.
But to your point about being in alignment and knowing that when you tap into that lower frequency energy, it messes you up. Where you're, for me now, it messes me up where I'm not in my normal space. I'm flustered and I didn't want to be there. I knew I wanted to do it differently with this particular person. But
And you have free will and the choice to do that.
yeah, and
You
it
know,
felt better.
one of the coachababble things that we hear is that we are programmed up until the age of 8. 80% of our programming is done then. Seriously, you think for 60 some odd years I haven't had other programming done? Please,
Coach, well, that's a good one.
right?
Yeah, I haven't heard that before.
Well, that's mine. I made that one up. Use it. Use it.
Hullabaloo, whatever you.
Portia, you and I are programming each other this very moment. My thoughts, I program myself all day long. And what I have started doing most recently is being aware of the programming other people are trying to put on me.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm in a meeting, this little thing, there's a little button that I can slide my sound right off. Because you don't, and I've told people, you don't have permission to program me with your bullshit negativity.
Mm-hmm.
You are programming yourself. You are in a swirl and you're the one who put yourself there. You don't have permission to put me there too.
Okay.
Right. And so if a meeting is going in that direction, I will silence it and I will stop going to those meetings because you don't have permission. I want to choose the language that is used for me. And it's not that I blame you or have any really opinion about you and your life. That's you and your life. But don't lead into mine. This is
Mm-hmm.
my script. This is my play, right? And I choose the supporting characters,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm not choosing you. That's all. I'm just not choosing you. And so be aware that the programming happens 24/7,
Oh yeah.
24/7. It doesn't stop at the age of 8, and 80% of it is not that. Now, you may hang on to those stories
Right.
and replay them, but you're reprogram. You are doing the programming by hanging on to them and reiterating them rather than, and this is the dark night work that I do. That happened then
Mm-hmm.
because you wrote the script. Why did you write that? You don't identify with that. That's not who you are. That is an event.
Mm-hmm.
Take the gift, leave it there, and let's move on. And when someone is able to alchemize that experience
Mm-hmm.
and leave it and become what they were supposed to become from that experience, you created it so that you can transform,
Mm-hmm.
right? Right? Things happen for your benefit because you wrote it.
Right.
That's what own it. You wrote it, so it's for your benefit. Where
Yeah.
is, man, where is that benefit? When you're able to do that, then you see the other programming happening and you don't want it anymore.
Mm-mm.
You get to choose how you are evolving.
Yeah.
Choose wisely.
Well, and to disconnect, because I think to your point, Gail, you're right. We're bombarded and flooded. Look at all the messages on social media, right? Do I even need to go there about you're not marketing it this way? Here's like I saw one earlier today, and I actually left the group because of it, where somebody posted that they made 45,000 from their podcast on YouTube or something. And the group admin made a comment saying, "Is this seems to me like clickbait?" And the person was going back and forth with the group admin, and I'm thinking in my mind, here we go again. I'm like, if you're the group admin, if you suspect something is not in alignment, get rid of it. Why put your energy into trying to defend something that you already know is not in alignment with what the purpose of your group is?
Well, there's her or his story that they bring to the table. I'll give
Yeah.
another example of a group. And someone put something in the group chat that looked like advertising. Here's my before picture. Here's my after picture. Here's the product I
Mm, mm.
don't tell me that's not marketing, but okay. And someone else responded, oh, very interested. So I just said, please take this out of this group chat. That's all I said. Just take this outside, not stop, but take it outside of the group chat. What came out of that? I'm getting out of the group. I'm doing this. And if I can't express myself, this is not a sales. I'm like, I just asked you to take it out of the group chat. That's all. You can continue doing whatever the F you wanted
Right.
to do, just not here.
Right. Right. I'm not shutting you down completely. I'm
No,
literally telling you this is inappropriate for this group chat.
right.
This can be a post on your Facebook or
Yeah,
LinkedIn or wherever, and not in here. And that's kind of to your point, how I kind of felt too with that post. I think
yeah,
that post was bait from the beginning,
right.
because I have colleagues who are monetizing their YouTube channels, and they confirmed that
Yeah,
a lot of that people making 45K or more is affiliates, and they have another business
right.
that is generating, because and that was the other thing too. The second post from the same person said they have some type of wellness business that they sell high ticket for
Right,
5,900 or something like that. And I'm like,
right,
y'all, instead of y'all going back and forth, they already told you how they make their money.
right, right. Right. And part of the job of the admin is if you think that something is out of alignment with the rules, you remind, here are the rules, period. And then if it continues, okay, bye. That's all. Right.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting I don't know about you, Portia, but I feel more One second. It's
Commercial break.
it's really cute and interesting. I feel more sensitive to what was happening around me before that I was unaware of. That is not in my best alignment um, choices,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so sometimes that's like fingernails on a chalkboard, right? It's like, oh, that doesn't feel right. And other times it's just like an awareness,
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, like I don't think I want that. And so I'm creating new boundaries all the time. And it's boundaries, not walls. There is a difference, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Big time.
yeah. Because I used to have the walls, baby. I'm telling you, like I said, I came from the gangs in Boston. I had walls, right? Right. You weren't going to mess with me because I was going to bring you down. You do not have permission, right? Um, and now it's like, well, I don't have to stay in your company. That's all. Boundaries have consequences, but they're communicated first. Walls are a dead stop,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's no flexibility with walls.
Well, I feel like boundaries are more like that life jacket,
Yeah,
right? Because I
like
think without them, you're gonna be depleted. You're still gonna be in what that people pleasing mentality. How are you really going to start to love yourself and show yourself that same respect that you want other people to give you without boundaries?
yeah, I had a friend that I did some coaching with, and he called with a situation, and he's like, she knows those are my boundaries. She knows she crossed them, and he was on and on and on. I listened. I said, well, boundaries without consequences. She not only crossed the boundaries, but you allowed her to set up camp. She put up a tent, had a little fire going, right? Was toasting some marshmallows, right? Because you gave her permission. So those are not boundaries. Those are not boundaries. Boundaries mean if you cross this, but if this happens, hon, it's not in alignment. I'm just going to leave because I don't want to fight about it. I'm just going to leave and let you calm down a little bit.
Right.
But say, hon, you need to calm down. This is not going to be productive. I'll be back in 20 minutes. That's it. Or whatever consequence you want to put in place. But you remind the person, no, I did tell you that this is not cool, so this is what I'm going to do. You let me know when you're ready. Right?
Right.
That's all. It's that simple. And um, unless there is a reason that you get fulfilled from that kind of, because some people get fed.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, I do soul realignment work, and part of that is as of creation, what's your soul? Now, some souls have stopped getting their energy from source and get their
Mm.
energy from you. Now, this can be done in a positive way. There's a gentleman, he's been my client for years. He's a dancer. He's a performer. Where does he
Mm.
get his energy? From the crowd
Mm-hmm.
applauding, right? Very positive way. And so he gets as creative as he possibly can to get more applause, right? That's very positive. And then there are others who are vampires,
Oh, don't
right?
even, we ain't gonna go there, Gail, because that's a
Right,
whole another hour conversation.
right. So what was my point? I don't know. My point being is wherever you're getting your energy from, be aware of it. And
Right.
if you're a vampire, if that's how you get your soul, there's no judgment there. Find a way to do it that doesn't harm someone else.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. There's a creative way to do it. Be a dancer, be a performer, be a comedian, be an actor, right? They all get their energy from you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that's okay. That's okay. Anyway, Portia, let's wrap her up. We've got just a couple of minutes. I love you. So if people want to get in touch with you and know more about what you do, how would they do that?
Sure. You can literally just do a Google search of Portia Booker. You'll find me. If you're on Facebook or LinkedIn, Portia Booker. I'm on Instagram at Portia the Grief Grand Tour. If you want to email me directly, whether you want to be a guest on my show, Grew with Portia, you can send your pitch to Portia, the producer at gmail.com.
Awesome. And so that information will be in the notes, folks. And as always, thank you for joining me on the Empowering Process podcast. If you like this, we would love a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please put them in the notes. We'll get back to you. And if you know someone who could benefit from this, absolutely share it out. And as always, please do subscribe so you know when the next episode is available. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Empowering Process podcast. Be sure to visit Gail at gailcraft.com to learn more about how she serves thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and goal seekers. And remember, if you like this broadcast, be sure to share and subscribe so you don't miss an episode.